if you're Topuria, I'm going to be smart about things. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to try to pick, fights that I think are people would want to see. And the first one I would say that I would try to pull in is I want to pull in an ex-champion. Aljamain Sterling's moving up to 145. Boom. I'll take Aljamain.
That's a tailor-made fight for him.
Exactly. That's why.
Yeah.
But he's a former champion. And you look and you go, hey, that's, I want to start picking people off. Well, let me do it with a former champion. So then I get a win there. And then I can go and say, okay, now I can start picking them off, because it's really going to depend on between Yair and Brian Ortega, fighting in Mexico, who wins, because that's really going to be the one that's going to probably be your next one.
Yeah.
But
you have Evloev, and then you've got, I mean, that's what you got right now. I mean, that's kind of the division right now. I mean, realistically, to be honest, it was Max and Volk.
For a long time.
And then you had Brian that's kind of lingering in there as well. And then Topuria made his way up. Yair's always been lingering in there as well, but he just hasn't been a very active fighter. And yeah, it's crazy that Topuria was able to make his run up in the middle of all that. You know what I mean? And just, he stayed active. He stayed busy. A lot of these guys, they haven't been as active or as busy. I haven't seen some of these guys fight in a while,
Some of them haven't.
Yeah. Crazy. But I look at this. Look, I would have loved to have seen his first title defense be against Max Holloway, because it just puts a whole new shakeup in the game. Or Max comes in, if Max is able to beat him, then do you have the automatic rematch, or do you have the Evloev or whatever? And then there's so many other different ways to work those fights in, now that, Volk has actually lost his title.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to the Usman, or the Kamaru Usman situation, Dave, John. By the way, guys, it's 1 a.m.
2.
Yeah. I went against Kamaru so many times. I'm like, no, this guy, he's got the style to beat him. He's got the style to beat him. And then I finally jump on the bandwagon, right? And then it's like, then he loses like a fight or two later. And then I'm like, okay, look, I can't go against Volk. I was kind of always thinking that Max is going to get him. Then I start watching him fight against guys like, the Brian Ortega fight is the one that really got me going, okay, look, I saw what you did to Max multiple times. And then I see what you're doing to Brian. And I'm like, man, there's no quitting you. You're going to be a hard son of a gun to beat. So you got nothing but respect from him. Then I saw what he did with Islam. I'm like, geez, man, this kid is good. But he's not a kid anymore. Like, he's had his run. He's had his time at the top. And where he's been, he's done it for so long. He's fought everybody. He's pretty much wiped out that division. I mean, it's Topuria's time, to be honest. You gotta pat him on the back and go, hey, man, great job. Let's see what you can do. Let's see what you can do. You're undefeated. But I'm gonna look at this. I mean, do we start judging him then based on some of the fights if he doesn't have as great a performance against somebody like a Max Holloway, a Yair Rodriguez who he's finished, or a Brian Ortega who he just dominated except for the third round? Do we go through that? Like, do we start judging Topuria based on the guys that he's gonna have to fight that Volk's already kind of dismantled, and say like, yeah, but Volk did this to them in his prime. Are you gonna do it to you in your prime?
No, it's because you're basically going through MMA math there. It doesn't matter how someone, he beat him better than this guy beat him. That, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
Did he get the win? Sometimes it all comes down to this. And I try to tell people this all the time, and you understand it because you've been there. Fighting is one of the hardest things to do, in the fact that it's not like any other sport as far as, you lose the football game this week, you got another one next week. You lose the baseball game today, it's a doubleheader. So we're going to play another one just right after. When you lose a fight, it lingers with you because you don't have another fight for a long time. And everything is about that last fight. And everything is about getting on, off of the schneid and getting back on the winning streak and, doing what you can, but you've got to live with that loss for a while. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's tough for a lot of people. A lot of people hold on to it's so important. Okay. It's important as far as your career and everything, but in the big picture of life, like I said, if you have a 10-year career, you're doing good. If you have a 20-year career, like some people, it's amazing. Vanderlei Silva, they're putting him in the UFC Hall of Fame, and you look and you go, okay, I can remember when Vanderlei first fought in the International Vale Tudo Championships that were in Brazil. Sergio, what was his name? Battarelli was the promoter of him and stuff. And, I can remember Vanderlei back then. He went 20 some years fighting. Wow. Crazy. You went 20 years fighting. Crazy. It's crazy, but
that I can still put sentences together.
So we'll talk about that. But I mean, it's one of those things where you look and you go, you got to be able to take the good and the bad and just brush it off and let it, throw it to the side and understand, if you are, Alexander Volkanovski at this time, you're going to do what you're going to do, but you do need to take time off and give yourself a chance to recover, because the worst part about the brain, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
You don't feel it. He didn't feel getting knocked out. He didn't remember it. And it's not like having, you break your arm, they put a cast on your arm, so you can't use it for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They can't cast your brain. Okay. But you need to treat it in the same fashion that you don't really use it. You don't abuse it, and you give it time to heal. I hope he does that, because, his brain is damaged just like it's a broken arm or a broken leg. It's damaged. So
yeah. I mean, I've talked about, I've talked about my own sparring situations and how things went downhill. I sparred with this kid that they called Macaron. I can't remember. It was like means spaghetti in Brazilian or Portuguese or something. Anyways, like he threw a spinning wheel kick and just
you got beat by a noodle.
I got beat by a noodle, and and that sat me down on my ass. Sat me hard. Yeah. And then I was like, oh no, I'll be all right. I finished the rest of the round, and then sparred again. And then I sparred again. A couple weeks later with Aaron Pico, he hit me with a nice shot, sat me right to my butt, and just to have that happen to me twice within like a couple weeks, 2 weeks of each other, I just realized that it was like. You need to. I
remember you pulled out of a fight because of that, though.
What's that?
You pulled out of the fight.
Yeah, I pulled out of the Michael Chandler fight because
which was smart.
Yep. I just knew, because my whole career I'd been hit by guys like a Josh Koscheck and a John Fitch, and I even sparred with heavyweights at the time with Paul Bonatello and Mike Kyle, and I was like, oh, I could take the Rockhold, and I sparred quite a bit. Trevor Pranglin and Brony, these guys could crack, and never had I been sat down. And so just the reality was like, hey, you're getting older. You're 37 years old, and it's like, this is 38, actually 38, 37, 38 at the time. You have to wrap your head around the fact that you're not what you used to be.
100% agree.